heavily.
What the?
Even in the animal kingdom. These are things that are like universal truths.
Hold on, FireFox.
No, that is not a universal truth in the animal kingdom. Yeah.
FireFox.
Not all animals, but like intelligence.
Almost none.
Okay, hold on.
Like most mammals.
Let's let underscore get in here real quick.
FireFox. The whole point I'm trying to bring up is that we don't know if what happens after death is actually a punishment. Right? Because what if the continual experience after death, what if all of the world beliefs are wrong? And what if the continual experience after death is some paradise or some absolute euphoria?
Prove, man.
They're not things we can prove, right?
Matter.
But you can't prove it one way or the other, right? So you can't prove it that they're going to go to hell or something. You can't prove that they're in some absolute euphoria and they're constantly feeling amazing. So you don't know what happens to them, right? For all we know, it could be a blank void. It could be nothing. And
by your definition, it doesn't matter because it's impossible to prove one way or the other.
Yeah,
I don't even know why we're having this argument.
So then why take the risk of punishing somebody by killing them? Why not? I mean, why not at least consider, life in prison? Wouldn't?
Well, like I said, I think for these people, Black Mirror would be the most optimal path.
Wouldn't
an absolute ridiculously solid case that literally no one on earth would probably prosecute. I think. I don't know if you ever seen Black Mirror, but the case where the guy is stuck in basically forever.
I'm going to be quite frank
in a
FireFox,
more or less torture.
This is a waste of our time. You're presenting hypotheticals that do not have any basis in reality and using a TV.
Motherfucker, this guy was talking about God.
FireFox, I'm going to be very frank.
I never mentioned God.
Yeah, the problem is that we're making an argument here on the basis of reality. I am not here to have a debate with you on the basis of
I work in VR and crypto and on the forefront of technology, and I think that these things are maybe 10 years out at most.
I'm not going to humor the argument. We're saying that we stick someone in a fucking VR hellscape for the rest of whatever is left.
Yeah, we're dealing with the real world here, not fantasy. Let's keep our discussions to that.
I can tell you it's maybe 10 years out.
That's very nice.
Or less.
Okay. Well, let's talk about today.
All right.
What is 10 years out? Hold on, really quick. What is 10 years out?
The idea of locking someone's mental consciousness, I guess is the best way to put it, in a hellscape that you've probably seen in Black Mirror. I mean, that is what it somewhat is a possibility, a realistic possibility.
Full dive VR can turn your fucking consciousness into a construct. No fucking chance. 10 years.
No, it'd be more like a tailored drug cocktail, but yeah.
So you're talking about pretty much ostensibly usurping the concept of cruel and unusual punishment. Because that's an extremely cruel and unusual punishment.
Indeed.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
For someone who is not making an emotional argument, I've noticed, not in the past couple sentences, but I've noticed you really fluff up your language and arguments with a lot of emotionally charged language, like child being raped, stuff like that. I don't.
Just an example.
No, I feel like you're making
transcend cultures.
Yeah, so it's a accoutrement. You're making you're trying to fluff it up in order to make it sound more relevant than it actually is.
Exactly.
I'm going to be quite frank. If you can't come up, we're showing here that there's a cost-benefit analysis for us to actually, 1, not execute these people, 2, that our solution has solved better, 3, that it is, 1, more moral or even probably more feasible than what you've presented. I don't think that there is a single leg that you have to stand on in this argument.
I mean, in the entire criminal justice system, period, it all is circumstantial and dependent on the crime. Period. I mean, if my situation and the way I'm presenting my argument differs from literally all of human history when it comes to the legal system, I'm sorry, you can go fuck yourself. That is a bullshit argument. Whatever.
You don't have a leg to stand on, but it's not going to prevent you from trying to hopscotch through this debate.
I'm going to quote a small man.
Wait, is he talking about my argument?
I'm going to quote a a very, very small man. Facts don't care about your feelings, folks. Yeah, I genuinely don't give a shit about what your feelings think. I'm presenting.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro actually would definitely agree with what I'm saying because he's talked about this at length. At length,
FireFox.
when it comes to the death penalty, I've heard him talk in person about this.
So here's what happens. Here's what has happened during this debate, right? Like you've been brought like multiple arguments, right? Talking about like present, talking about the real world, right? And you can't counter them. So what you resort to is talking about this is what you've done. You resort to talking about Black Mirror, and then you talk about these like hypothetical situations, right? That will not like realistically transpire in the real world. Like if we are like 120% certain, or like without a reasonable doubt, like within a million like percentage, or some whatever language you used, right? Like through cameras and through like whatever, right? Like that little spiel you did doesn't transpire into the real world like seamlessly the way you're saying it, right? Like you've resorted to these kind of arguments that don't like work. They don't work, and they also range in fiction.
No, they are fiction, straight fiction. In fact,
I don't know.
Okay, I don't think you understand what I was saying. First off, secondly,
you're right. I don't.
My arguments for the method of punishment obviously don't exist, but I said and clarified specifically that essentially these don't exist, but I think they should. And if we get the technology to do it, I think they should be used for people who have a very sick, fucked up situation that is an absolute inevitable fact that everyone
all right.
Shut up,
that doesn't
white
transpire.
Go fuck yourself. No, don't fucking tell
chill.
me all right.
Calm down, everyone. Calm down, please.
I'm a fucking idiot, and basically said that my fucking arguments are bullshit. Fuck you.
I can say your argument is bullshit.
That's what he said.
No, it's not.
I'm the one saying your argument is bullshit.
I'm saying your argument is like stupid, but I'm not saying you're stupid.
No, I'm gonna go a step further. I think that the presentation of your arguments are both intellectually dishonest. I think they are actually dishonest. I think not only have you wasted the time of this room, but actually wasted the breaths, or your own breaths, trying to make such a silly contention.
I don't know. That was pretty entertaining.
Wait, what did I miss? Wait, what is this? What is this?
That was entertaining.
What was the argument presented?
I would say that my argument.
Angry.
I don't feel that my argument that I presented was fully addressed at all. I don't.
Wait, what was your argument?
Well, I had said that. I had said that in regards to the death penalty, I think it's important to think about the fact that we don't honestly know what happens after we die. And for all we know, we could be sending this person to some other paradise or other existence that is better.
I have Bluetooth.
Wait, so you're for the death penalty because maybe we're sending them to a better life? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I'm not for it. I'm not for
How far we got on that is him saying like, I don't know. I asked him like, do you believe there are crimes that you can never repent for? And he said, oh, I'm not sure. Like that's where we stopped.
Okay. No, aimbot. I'm not supporting or against. I'm just saying that it's something important to think about.
I mean, yeah, because I believe in heaven or hell, and if this person's innocent that we put to death, hey, maybe he'll be in heaven because he didn't commit any sin, but that's no excuse to kill that
Sure.
person.
And I mean, and this is something that I think Fire brought up, is that maybe there's a heaven or hell, but the honest answer is we have no idea, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we have no idea. Existence after life could be something we possibly couldn't imagine. Maybe it's some sort of euphoric, crazy experience that's really good, and it might be worth taking into consideration that when we're talking about the death penalty.
I would probably say that I think that argument, while interesting and it presents like a very cool way to talk about it, I don't think it's the best way to go about it. I think it's a little bit more like playing in the hypotheticals and kind of screwing around with tips. So I don't think it's a bad argument. I just don't think it's necessarily the best course of action. I don't think it's the meta.
Sure. Something else that I thought was interesting. Something else that I thought was interesting that Spectre brought up was the amount it costs.
I brought that up too.
He brought it up too.
Oh, okay.
I think he brought it up more than I did, to be like
it costs, what is it? I think it's $32 or $320 something million. And it's mostly just because of the appeals. The appellate process is fucking expensive in the United States. It's so goddamn expensive to the point, like, I don't even think it's financially feasible to fucking kill a person. You're better off taking him out old Yeller style, putting him to the back of the fucking wall and putting a shotgun round in his mouth. But like,
Bruh.
we don't do shit like that. We simply don't. If we
Right.
were,
Well, that's inhumane, right?
well, yeah, we're not the DPRK. We're not even fucking Saudi Arabia. You're not
Mhm.
that. It's outside of our MO. Now, if you're telling me, you know, we're some sort of despotic country where we go and throw people to the wall or the gulag, no, like, then in which case the rules in the fucking game completely change. But we
I would like to say, Firefox, I'll end on this for you. Like, I would encourage you to look into this topic and like set your emotions at the door before you do it. Like, and that's what I would encourage.
Mhm.
He's not even there, but all right.
Oh man, I hate it when people try to pull this like shtick, like this, like, oh yeah, I know how the legal field works. It's like, do you really? Do you really want
I really miss a good argument. Shit,
on
man.
I
the
tried to get the unsure roll, but it wouldn't work.
Let me slap it on you then.
No,
Yeah,
don't.
the
You don't
rules
need
aren't
to.
working.
Do we, honest to God, I
Where
really
is it?
want
No, it's okay. You don't need to put it on me. I don't
I'm
want it.
putting it on.
No,
Screw
no,
it.
no, no, no.
to.
I'm putting the Jewish roll on you then.
No,
Oh, shit.
motherfucker.
Put the
Why?
Marxist roll on him. Give it to him.
No, no, no. Don't do that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'll put a nationalist.
No, motherfucker. Oh my God, please
This
stop.
man's a crypto Marxist.
All right,
This man's a
all
crypto
right.
Marxist.
I was out smoking.
How do
All
I
right.
get this off?
I heard what was said, and I think someone else made a really good point. How would I feel? And I think this is a question for all of you. How would you feel if Saudi Arabia or, you know,
How do I get the
fucking
Jewish roll off?
Chinese Communist Party or whatever was
Thank
in
you.
control of the process of the death penalty?
I mean, it
I'll
wouldn't
check
So
be-
in that case, I would have to literally question my beliefs on this.
I mean, if the
Like an
Sukkah-
absolute fact, because like in Saudi Arabia or China, like, you know, if you have the wrong opinion of whatever, or going back to like historical times, like in the Catholic Church or something like that, like medieval ages, like how would I feel if someone was persecuted and put to death by fire, literally burning them to death, for I don't know, like Galileo or whatever, or fucking Tycho Brahe. That's the best case scenario, or worst case scenario, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'd have to rethink my position on that. But I think in this day and age, with digital surveillance and, you know, all these different processes where we can actually definitively 100% prove someone killed someone, I think, like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a hard question.
I mean, we're not talking about burden of proofs here. We're literally talking about whether
I think that matters, though.
I understand that, but I'm explaining to you that the argumentation is presented, the current amount of evidence that is presented, and the argumentation style that you've presented does, one, not support your argument, and two, not even make a solvency-based argument pertaining to the fact that we could even allow it. Like, if you want to play like maybes and hypotheticals, if we were like a fucking Chinese constabulary and like we're fucking, or we're like some sort of Russian fucking, what do they call them? The
Not
East
about the
German guys.
Russians.
I can hear you chewing.
What are the East German police called? The Stasi. Like if I'm a fucking Stasi agent or some shit like that, then that's completely different. It's a completely different legal system, and we don't have the same rules. It's completely like this is the same reason why I objected to the original position that was presented about the Norwegian.
You
law.
saying on like a cultural basis, like for example, like your argument of the Stasi, right, which would be the Nazis.
No,
No.
The idea that if
They're
you're
not Nazis.
Jewish, you deserve.
no,
No.
No, I
no,
understand,
no.
but just as an argument
What?
that you kind of brought up, because you brought up the Stasi, like
They're not
literally,
Nazis.
the Stasi were the East German after World War II.
Yeah, they're communists, not Nazis
basically Nazis. I mean,
or Soviets.
whatever, but yeah.
I mean, I get
Okay.
it. I understand the meme, but like we're talking here in the sense of if we're in any other situation, we're in a different, like where different legal rules apply, then we're not like there's no way we can apply things like unilaterally.
All right, how about this? Like in cases I talked about this earlier, but in cases of like universal bullshit when it comes to like,
Wait, can I get dragged into chill?
for example, killing a kid or something like that is on camera, that is an absolute fact, that transcends cultures. Period. Every culture.
Language.
I've already brought up the same point, and I've made this argument, and I'm not going to address it again. I've already stated
that doesn't work here, though. You have to, like, I brought up an argument, and
no,
I mean, it transcends cultures, man.
It doesn't transcend legal systems. Our legal systems are not the same. Just because like one culture sees that and they take that man out back and they fucking put 2 in the back of his head. That's the way, like, they'll do it in Mexico. They'll do the same shit in the Dominican Republic because that's outlaw. That's frontier justice, quote unquote.
I'm not talking about frontier justice. I'm talking about like in a case where it's like an absolute proven fact on video, whatever.
Get you. But the problem is there's a difference between, okay, let's take that situation. There's irredeemable proof that this man went and murdered a child, fucked the corpse, and literally tore its asshole clean open. Let's give it the
okay, that's extreme, but okay.
Yeah, let's say
that's what you've been doing the whole time almost, man.
Let's go with the most extreme situation.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, most extreme on video, like literally law-abiding citizen with the video evidence. Crazy shit. All right.
I'll give you one more. This dude literally waved at the fucking camera, said, "Hi, it was me. I did it."
Yes. Okay. Fine. We understand. Yes. Absolute fact.
We'll let him finish it. We'll let him finish his point.
Let's assume we live in a country that doesn't use the same legal system as ours. They will take that man straight to the back, no questions asked. After seeing that, it's like, that's all I need. Take him straight to the back door and fucking put 2 in the back of his head. Now, that's
not. I argue he should have worse. Like I said, with the fucking Black Mirror shit.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
I feel like this. I've never seen a conversation other than like the Jew conversation be more circular. Like I'm actually getting a headache at this point.
It does. It wouldn't be so bad if
it's whatever.
Like I literally have stated this in so many different ways. I don't know how many more different ways I can go at it.
It's like the Da Vinci Code. We're gonna crack it. Don't worry.
That's a shit movie, by the
way. The book is also pretty shitty.
I just don't understand. Like in a case like that, like what possible argument would be there? Would there possibly be against the death penalty in this case?
It would cost $372 million to put that guy to death in an American legal system, which is where we currently live.
Okay, fine. All right.
We're under. So why the fuck would I want to pay $372 million? Yeah, to kill a fucking terrible, a straight up piece of shit. Why would I want to give that motherfucker the satisfaction of knowing he's wasted $372 million of
all right.
my
okay.
In this
I will agree with you when it comes to the cost in the American system to have a situation like that. I fully 100% agree. When it costs that much money, I mean, I'd rather see him rot in prison. But like I said, I'd like to see them suffer to a level that is worse than death. Like,
wait, hold on.
Definitely solitary confinement.
Wait, hold
definitely.
I've asked a question. Why do we see our prison system as a place as punishment? Like, why do you want to make these people suffer? Like, I'd rather try
it's
to
a rehabilitation system for the most part. But when you're convicted on death row, it's not supposed to be.
It's more of a punishment system than them to reform people in. That's how we use the prison system in this country.
Punitive system.
Yeah. No.
I'd rather try to reform these criminals and try to have an opportunity to, make amends and actually be a productive part of our society than just kill them off.
Actually,
the entire legal system in America is designed for reform. Granted, I actually would agree with you that it doesn't work that way most of the time, but hey.
It's not built to reform, it's built to punish. We see the justice system as a place to get retribution, or just to punish people that we see as deviant.
I would agree on the fine part of that. Once you get into like federal prison on like really heavy crimes, like
and all levels of prison, we see it as punishment. I mean, I feel like maybe there's types of people or types of crimes that just can't be.
I mean, not tolerated. We have life in prison. Like, we don't need to play this game. We don't have to say like death penalty or no death penalty. you have the alternative. You get to say, I will like to say this man in a hole for the rest of his life. It will cost
No,
Okay, wait.
it's way
So,
bigger than that.
wait. Quick questions are: if a person who committed a double homicide or some shit, killed a pregnant woman like at age 18, he gets life in prison. But like halfway through it, he showed
parole.
reform, showed remorse, and
No,
actually,
no. So the thing is that depends on when he's getting sentenced. In a situation like that, if I had the ability to, as a prosecutor, I'm throwing the book. No chance for parole, not a goddamn thing. Double homicide in particular. Actually, we just had a case that was similar to that. Dude bit off, or what is it? He stabbed a child in the neck and bit the nose off his wife.
That's such a waste of resources.
okay. But here's the thing: what if he shows that he's been reformed, like he actually is a good product to the community, he actually
Doesn't
try to
matter.
give back and amends the things that he's done? Do you
That
still want
doesn't
to give him
matter.
life in prison?
Yeah, definitely. I would rather, for the safety of my community, a person who commits a crime and act like that, I might not be okay with putting his life, putting him to death, but I'm more than willing to have that man rot in a hole for the rest of his life. Easily. No questions asked.
I'm against that. I mean,
I can understand.
if we're giving someone like life in prison, I would like a higher bar of reformation and try to get him back into society, of course. But if he actually meets that criteria and actually has not committed any crime, if he is already
Are
like
you
that, or
against the
been a very
concept of wait, this is the question I have with you, Amon. Do you have are you against the concept of life without parole? Because that seems to be
no,
the case.
I'm not against the concept of life without parole. Of course, if there's people who show that they're not willing to change or anything like that, of course, like life without parole, fine.
What if they have a mental illness?
I mean,
That's not. Then
it's a
you don't
rarity.
argue. So the thing is that traditionally speaking, if a person is mentally ill and they're able to prove it by court, there's two different kinds of sentences you can get. You can get what's called NGRI, which is called not guilty by reason of insanity, which traditionally speaking, you're as good as fucked. They will throw your ass in a loony bin and you are never getting out. You will stay there for the rest of your days,
All
babbling
right.
on like.
What's the next one?
And the other one,
Psychological torture.
no, it's guilty but mentally ill. Guilty but mentally ill states that you will first serve your stint in a mental institution and then they throw your ass in prison. Guilty but mentally ill is normally the easier one to prove because NGRI requires a much higher standard, traditionally requires a lot more like expert witnesses. It is fucking difficult. It is
All right. It like just mentally, I'm picturing someone like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, right? Like, what do you think someone like that would
guilty but mentally ill.
deserve, or
It's guilty but mentally ill.
okay, but like, what do you think the punishment should be for someone like that? In that case,
That's 6 counts of murder that he commits throughout the movie. 6, 5.
I don't know, whatever it is, but like, yeah.
You have assault with a
Do
deadly
they, when
murder,
they're trying to prove?
murder in the first degree. Well, several counts of murder in the first degree.
Okay, fuck all the bullshit. Just
No,
the totality of his shit, like, and the fact that he is mentally ill with psychopathy that is literally
mentally
on a
ill.
level that he does not. He would feel just as home
So
and alone
so
at the
I'm
same time in a prison as he does in the real world. Like,
That's
what do you
right.
think a
You keep
punishment for
comparing
someone
that like
that
that's
would
the
be?
number one thing to like the disease, and that's just not the case.
Well, something I would ask is, do courts, when they're trying to prove the mental stability of somebody, they take into account personality disorders? Because
They
so
do.
outside of the
Yes,
context, so in
absolutely.
context of the movie, Bateman has like antisocial personality disorder technically. So if we're gonna label him with anything, but would that come into play? I guess.
Yeah, it would be considered. He would. So the thing is the way that would end up being presented. The defense at that point is already playing a losing battle, and they'll probably
Mhm.
go and they'll either enter into a plea deal, and then at that point they have to hope and pray. So at that point they're going to need to one expert witnesses to show that one Mr. Bateman does indeed have antisocial personality disorder. Two, that antisocial personality disorder had an impact on his thinking of the situation and put him to a point where he was not in his right mind when he committed the actions that he did. Now, mind you, that has a very, 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 very loose interpretation because you run into a few issues, particularly pertaining to like, well, what if he was just mentally impaired? Like, what is he like drinking,
Well,
or smoking or anything like that, like
yeah.
amphetamines?
I mean, I
Right?
think the difficult part with people in the antisocial personality disorder spectrum is the actions they take are quite deliberate. Like with Bateman, for instance, everything he did was quite deliberate. He planned to kill people. You know.
Yeah, no, he set little fucking drapes up. He made sure that everything was covered. So in that circumstance, even if we can assume otherwise, I think if we're going to assume that like he's able to prove anything, he's going to prove guilty but mentally ill, because there is no judge on this planet that would be able to prove that for NGRI, because he was cognizant and actually able to like understand that there are implications. Like if he went and just axe murdered the fuck out of that person in his own home, blood splatter all over the place, and just killed that person in like a fit of passion, that's a completely different game. But the fact that he took precautions to protect his identity and to protect his action showed that is not the case. So
is anybody debating the death penalty or?
Well, no, we have been. Like
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I've made the argument saying that like if it were up to me and I was, grand poobah of the world, aside from, that not being something I agree with, but if I'm grand poobah for a day, I'd say if like for a person who gets the quote unquote death penalty, we make a nice supermax prison in the middle of Alaska. It's a whole 20 feet deep by 20 feet wide. You get food taken to you every day, and that's it. That's all you get.
So you're talking about the prisons of Siberian Russia. I mean, there is a prison that literally does this, where they have 24 hours a day solitary confinement. I think it's Nova Russia or Nova.
It's called Black Dolphin. Type in Black Dolphin Russia.
But hang on. Before we can talk about like long-term incarceration versus prison versus the death penalty, those that like are in favor of long-term incarceration have to sort of make a determination about what sort of role long-term incarceration would serve. Is it supposed to be punitive?
Oh, that's the only situation with which punitive justice actually makes any sort of like feasible sense.
This is what I'm saying. In these cases where these sort of punitive destruction of the individual makes sense is where I think the death penalty makes sense, because it costs. I mean, granted, in America it costs more, but I think these
never mind the
barriers
cost. Let's assume
right,
cost isn't a problem for a minute.
All right, so if cost isn't a problem, I mean, okay, so I would say on one side, death is quick, and they're going to understand that, and they're going to deal with that. So maybe the punishment is not fitting for the crime.
So I have a question.
Right?
Why should we seek death as a punishment?
Well, before we do that, let's just start with the alternative, right? If we don't, let's say we remove death off the table, like so, I'm gonna entertain the idea that Zai had, right? And then we try to make a determination: does the use of long-term incarceration in this case, what purpose does it serve? So we're not trying to like reduce the rate of recidivism.
Trying to screw these people as hard as humanly possible.
So this is about punishment, right? Yeah. Are we trying to? This is a form of punishment.
Punish them.
Just to give an easy answer.
I'm not very old. You're a burden on society if your life in prison. I'm not paying for it.
I want to hear what Zan said.
Holes.
You can't have a conversation when there's like at least 3 or 4 people with like that like this. Just chill. Let Zan talk.
So the idea here is that we're saying, and I'm saying, if we're going to support the idea of long-term punishment, and this is the only means of it that I support, would be having to throw someone in a hole very deep, and that's it. We're talking about long-term punishment used only for the most extreme people who are convicted of it. And we're not saying, like, this is what I'm saying as an alternative to the death penalty.
What's more humane, the death penalty or being lifetime incarcerated inside like a lonely cell?
Right. I mean, so before we get there, does the degree of the punishment matter? So let's say, for example, we have 2 situations. One where we give the guy an Xbox, and one where we give the guy a daily whipping. Which is preferable for you?
What kind of comparison is it?
All right. Hold on. Okay,
hang on, because I'm trying to determine it. The purpose is punishment, right?
Well, no,
which is preferable for his moral.
Wait. No, checking. Your analogy is terrible because one's an actual reward. The fuck?
Okay, hold on. there are people right now in the Russian prison system that have been convicted for like literally poisoning. If I'm not mistaken, there's a guy there that poisoned 320 people or something like that, some insane amount, knowingly poisoned that amount of people, like to the point where they died or had, life.
Okay, yeah, he murdered a lot of
lifelong
people
impact.
by poison. We understand. Okay.
Something like that. Anyway, in that case, they felt that so Russia has the death penalty, but in that
Why do we
case, they
care?
actually felt like putting him in solitary confinement with literally nothing to the point where he is now absolutely insane, if I'm not mistaken, was more like death was actually lesser of an evil or lesser of a thing
Thanks for
than
telling us what Russia did.
what he ended up getting.
Okay, wait, hold on. This is not the, wait, hold on. But
Why should I
Firefox, this is
pay
not.
for someone's life in
Wait, hold on.
prison?
Firefox, this is not the economy that's currently happening right now. It's not death penalty or lifetime in solitary confinement. That's not what we're doing right
Chad,
now.
why would I whip
I
this
think it's
man
important, though.
why would I whip this man every day?
We're talking about
utility.
there are things.
No, I'm asking
death,
Chad a
man.
question, please.
I mean,
Okay, so I asked what the purpose is of this long-term incarceration. Is it to isolate him from society such that he could no longer cause harm? Is it to reform him, or is it to punish him? And the answer is for punishment's sake. So, I mean, where this would be a form of punishment here. Whipping them would be the purpose would be to punish them for what they've done, right?
That's not comparable to just staying in prison.
Why punish him?
Because they've committed some crime, right? Some like serious crime.
Yeah. So basically, it's a deterrent, right?
No,
Is it a
it's a
deterrent
punishment.
for them? Okay.
It's not supposed to. I'm asking if that's. I'm not advocating for this. That's why I'm asking.
No, the punishment is like the result of the deterrent.
It's at all though. Who arbitrates? Makes the call of who should live and who should die. Really, is it by popular consensus or what?
Well, that's we're trying to
jury by your peers, man. That's
Jury
like
by your
literally the whole
peers.
point of the
That's
justice system.
That's why I posed the question to Czar, because Czar, as Grand Poobah right now, Czar is Grand Poobah, right? We're entertaining Czar's idea, and his idea is that in the middle of like Siberia, what was
it is literally. So I'm saying it is like a joke for the most part.
right, but we're just entertaining the idea.
So let's entertain the idea. Okay, Grand Poobah for a day. I'm not talking about like the difference here between the idea of going out and like flogging a person or gibbeting them is one thing. What we're talking about here is a person who has been convicted of a crime, has gone through his appeals, has done his whole due diligence in order to try and see if he is innocent. We are saying, okay, well, we found that he is guilty, but instead of killing him and having to go through more appellate processes, he can spend the rest of his days in prison in a nice little lonely cell in the middle of fucking nowhere, and he can continue to appeal his processes like everyone else. That way, it doesn't cost the American public more than it should.
Okay, let's
want to talk about
neglect. Okay,
It really begs the question. It begs the question, of course, as all things do.
Wait. Okay, because we need to start doing a few things. Number one, you need to start. When you're talking about this is a moral issue more than it is an economic issue. Firstly, right? Because the amount of people that we have on death row is like fairly small, and they account for a very small tax burden.
Do you know how much it costs to kill someone, Chad King?
Well, that's another argument entirely. That's another argument entirely.
So let's forget the economic problem for a minute. Okay, the question is, what ought we do before we worry about the economic concern about what the cost of this option might be?
Exactly.
Right?
Oh no, because I think that's
we shouldn't concern ourselves with the fiscal cost. It's the ethical nature of the death penalty. It doesn't matter how much it costs because that's not the problem here.
It's also probably a lot more
An eye for an eye, motherfucker. He killed say if someone some mass
this is not
murderer
right.
killed 20
No,
people.
So imagine executing the death penalty. Imagine humans were like almost indestructible, and the cost of the death penalty was in the like hundreds of millions. People who support the death penalty would still be willing to pay that price. Like so, on both sides, the cost is not the issue, right?
Are you telling
the
me
issue is the morals and ethics.
Are you telling me?
All right, hold on. Someone said eye for an eye. In this case, we're talking about, I would say, generally people who've killed multiple people. Like, in the case of some people, like hundreds of people, willingly, knowingly, and via means that are really fucked up. Like,
wait, that's
you know
not usually the case when it comes to people on death
no,
row.
I understand. I understand that's not normally the case, but almost everyone on death row is more than one person.
Killers.
So,
you know, having the death penalty as an option kind of creates it as a legitimate course of action for criminals. You know, it encourages killing, in my mind.
Yeah, same. I have the
Honestly,
same
I
mindset
think
about
it
it.
the
would
death penalty
discourage it.
encourages
what?
killing?
How does
okay
that work?
If it's
It
okay
does.
for the state to have a monopoly on violence and murder, essentially killing individuals, why can't an individual go about that himself? You know, it kind of
It
What are you
basically
talking about?
no, I can explain. Like, I can give my take on it. Like, it kind of opens the door, saying like it's telling people there is a rational holy shit, I'm spazzing out. Like, there are
So
some
if the
things you
state,
can
if the
do
state,
that merit death. There are some things that you can do that merit death, and people can
Okay.
then apply that into like their real personal life, especially if they're
Ah.
uneducated or mentally deranged. They can take that
So if the
mindset.
state has a monopoly on legal detention, then that might motivate people to detain one another. So that's why I
Monopoly,
keep.
Wait,
That's
that's
why I
not-
keep. That's why I keep women in my basement. That's why I keep women in my basement.
right.
That's why.
Okay, wait, hold
All
on.
right,
This is not
hold
even
on.
true.
If I understand this person, hold on.
Is that
If I
apt? Is that
understand
an apt analogy?
Hold on.
Come on, it's so silly.
Please. Let me like try to break this down. So, are you talking about like the idea behind the jihad or whatever? Like,
No.
you know, in
No.
particular Muslim faith, where like,
No.
Why are you bringing
Where
in
are you
faith?
is
getting
that
into
what
this?
you're
this from?
talking about?
Why are you bringing
No.
faith into this discussion? We don't want this in
No,
our dialogue.
because the idea of the jihad, like,
No one brought up
This is
jihad.
irrelevant.
No,
You're
hold on,
bringing up
hold on.
something. No. Oh my.
Hold
My
on.
goodness, this derail.
Hold on, please let me
Fuck.
finish for a second. Okay.
You're derailing,
When it comes
sir.
to like the Muslim faith, there are such a thing where like if you kill enough infidels, right? Like we're going back
My
in
God.
ancient times and even potentially modern times, but just the
In
general
ancient
idea.
times, they would string you up
Anytime
by
in modern
hands and
times.
hang you from the
Mercy,
trees.
mercy,
In ancient times, you'd be whipped
Okay, hold on.
all
I'm
the way to
sorry.
the fucking hanging post, and you'd be publicly
You're
Wait,
hanged.
mercy.
trees. It's not comparable.
Monkey, wait.
Mercy. 5 minutes, guys, please. Let's take turns and hear one another out. I know you don't want to hear what FireFox has to say. Let's just hear him out, okay? FireFox, please be succinct. I'm gonna.
That's crazy, bro. That's just the McDonald's is coming out.
Very
Oh
funny.
my god. Okay. Basically, when it comes to like the jihad, or the idea behind the jihad as put forward by the Quran, if you kill enough infidels, you end up in what is essentially Muslim Valhalla, right? So, the idea is like
Not true, actually.
Wait, hold on.
my understanding of
Firefox,
it, at least.
Firefox, please wrap it up because this is like it seems like a huge zero.
Okay,
to have a
so essentially,
How is this
like
relevant?
a lot of the ideas behind Muslim
We
martyrs.
do not live in a
and
Muslim
martyrs
state.
and-
I'm assuming all of us in here live in fairly.
oh my god.
Monkey, let him answer. Please tell us how this is relevant, FireFox.
Okay, but essentially, like the idea is that they kill themselves and they go to heaven or whatever their version of heaven if they kill enough infidels or whatever the fucking situation is. Like,
Stop the recording.
In someone's case like that, like